Hi Tan, welcome to the interview where I'm going to ask you the questions we received during our live Facebook event. So you're the founder of Decentralized Masters, you're an ex-Wall Street banker and CFA charter holder,
Yep.
and you now help investors with the three-step ABN system in the native crypto markets.
Yeah.
Decentralized Masters was born over 3 years ago and is already a community of over 3,000 high-profile members, supported by a team of 90 full-time employees that you lead. So let's get started with the first question.
Let's go.
If DeFi crypto works so well, why sell a program? Why not just do profit sharing? If you're making so much money in crypto, why aren't you just taking other people's money and earning a cut? Why bother with selling a program at all?
Well, that's a very fair question. It's probably the most important one that anyone could ask. The truth is, at Decentralized Masters, we have actually built something far more powerful than traditional profit sharing. Something that makes both our members and us significantly more money.
How so?
So think of Decentralized Masters not as a program, but rather as what I call a brain magnet. So we've created an ecosystem that's mutually beneficial in ways that traditional funds management simply can't match. So the system works in 3 straightforward steps. First, we teach our members everything they need to know about securing and multiplying their wealth in the native markets. The education, the strategies, the specific protocols, all of it.
But surely you could do that and manage their money, right?
Right, so that's where step 2 comes in. And this is crucial. As members apply our system, something remarkable happens. They start spotting profitable opportunities themselves with what we taught them. And sometimes even our research team is going to miss them. See, the thing is, there are thousands of assets in the crypto ecosystem now. So even with our team of 35 plus analysts, we're not going to spot them all. But with 3,000 plus active members who are all exploring the markets independently, now that collective intelligence becomes unstoppable.
So you're essentially crowdsourcing investment intelligence.
Exactly. So step 3 is where it all comes together. Members share these opportunities inside our community. Now then, our mentors are going to go and vet them. I will ask my personal network. As a matter of fact, we have 2 founders of the top 30 in the world that are part of the community. So we literally have access to anyone in the space.
That's fascinating. So instead of a traditional fund structure, you're building something more like a mastermind?
Exactly. So when someone joins Decentralized Masters, they're not just another client. They become a partner in our community. Every win they share benefits the entire community, right? And vice versa. So we're not just selling a program, we're building the most intelligent crypto community in the world.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, Tan. I guess now we'll take a break and then we'll address more common questions from our listeners shortly.
Let's do it.
So I guess, Tan, would you say this is like a stocks picks newsletter or more like a course? So what I hear often is that many people can be confused about what it is that we actually offer. Is it just another hot picks newsletter? Is it a course or is it something completely different? What actually is Decentralized Masters?
All right, makes a lot of sense because what we offer is quite different from what you find in the market. So it's neither a traditional newsletter nor a course. It's actually a comprehensive system that combines all of this and way more.
So with that said, what exactly do members receive?
All right, so you want precisely. Okay, so I'd say there are 3 core components. So yes, there is an educational video platform like training that teaches you everything you need to know laid out step by step. It's not theory, it's practical. We show you what to do, how to do it, like how to set up the right accounts, how to secure assets, literally where to click to do it, right? Second, we provide the ongoing research and share exactly what we are investing in. So our research team, they're more than 35 now. They work around the clock analyzing these markets. I use them personally, and so do our members. They are looking for those assets that meet our strict criteria. So we have our own algorithms, our own criteria, right? Screenings that are going on. We're looking for potential explosive growth. When we identify such opportunities, we alert our members, and then they have the option to go for it or not. That's totally up to them. And we also tell them why. And that's very important because we want them to be able to understand so that they can make their own decisions in an informed way, I would say.
Okay, so it sounds like a combination of education and research. What's the third component, would you say?
I think it's the one that truly sets us apart. Direct access to crypto experts who literally can answer your specific questions and provide custom guidance based on your needs. So these are actual experts who could be doing just crypto, but they've decided to join a vision, to understand where we're going and what we're doing, right? And the common resources benefits all of us, and they get that. So they love teaching crypto, they love educating people, and they love also being in touch with high-level investors, our members. So it's a win-win. We saw the gap in the market. I mean, most newsletters out there, they throw a few picks here and there and then leave it up to you what to do with it, right? No entry strategy, no exit strategy. Like the markets move. So is this information still accurate, like maybe a week later or not? Like you don't get that. That's what we solved. And you get all the up-to-date actionable opportunities that the members are jumping onto.
But do the recommendations actually work? Because a lot of newsletters have spotty track records.
Right. So that's why we like to be very transparent and we track the performance of every recommendations that we will make. So we looked into the data, and in the last 18 months, we made over 450 plus native market recommendations. They resulted on an average 301% performance with over 86% in win rate. And that is all verifiable. So as we said, we don't just provide the recommendation, we also provide the reasoning behind it. And that's why our members love working with us. Now, obviously, you're not going to jump in all of them. There is a strict portfolio management like principles that we follow, that we teach also. And that's why members know exactly what to do, if it's for them, if it's not, etc.
So it sounds like this is more like a complete system rather than just a newsletter or a course.
Exactly. So the issue with newsletters is that they're one-way street. They send pics, you read them. Courses, they dump information on you and just leave it up to you to figure out the implementation part. Here we have a comprehensive ecosystem that is designed to support you at every stage. You can ask the questions, you can join the classes. If you just need the information, so be it. You have the information as well. But the goal is really to teach you how to fish, to teach you how we make our research so that you can do it too on your own and bring more opportunities to the collective. And that's probably why our retention rate is of 70%, which is literally unmatched. Members stay because they're getting real value, not just information, they're learning, and they're also part of a community where they feel they're an asset, they're contributing to the success of others as well. And that's very powerful.
Thanks for clarifying that, Tan. I guess let's move on to the next question. So something I hear often is, isn't crypto like gambling? And how is it different from taking any other huge risk? Some of the returns you describe, like the 3x, the 5x, sometimes even the 10x, sound more like casino winnings than investment returns. So many financial advisors, and I especially experienced this when I was working at JP Morgan, generally advise retirees particularly to stay far away from crypto. They usually refer to it as like purely speculative. What would you say makes this legitimate investing rather than say pure speculation?
Well, to be honest with you, for most people, it is gambling. That simple. They buy based on social media hype, FOMO, what their friends recommend, but there is no analysis. There's no strategy behind it. So what is it? It's gambling, right? I mean, this applies also to stocks, to real estate. If you do not have done any research, if you don't understand it, by definition, you're gambling. What we teach is crypto investment strategy and how to manage properly a crypto portfolio, knowing its pros and cons as an asset class, I would say. And all of this is derived from the CFA principles that I learned.
See, I understand that, but I guess even with this analysis, aren't these kind of returns inherently speculative still?
I mean, yeah, it should be speculative, right? Any investment is, especially early stage. But remember, Amazon back then, it was highly speculative. Early investors who understood the potential of e-commerce made returns that seemed impossible by traditional metrics. The key is understanding why these returns are possible in crypto, and that's also what we teach.
But Tan, you know that there's thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. How can anyone possibly identify which ones will actually succeed?
So that's exactly where having a systematic approach, a strategy, makes all the difference. We don't even try to evaluate the thousands of cryptos out there. We have a rigorous filtering process that we call screening that narrows the field to only those who meet certain criteria that we're looking for, because in the past they have resulted in good returns for us, right? I can't say more because it's proprietary, but that's how the hedge funds operate as well. We look at technical fundamentals, we look at tokenomics, we look at team composition, we look at market positioning, and dozens of other criteria that our members now know very well because they're part of our research reports. We are looking for very specific patterns that have proven reliable over time. So out of thousands of assets, maybe 1% come across our desk. And then we conduct human, deeper analysis on that small subset. So each month, we end up recommending just a few out of 1,000 possible options.
But even with all of that analysis, surely there's still some significant risk involved.
There will always be risk in any type of investment out there. What you're looking for is, what level of risk am I ready to take for a certain expected return? It's the risk-reward equation. The key is you're not looking to completely eliminate the risk. You're looking to manage it through position sizing, through portfolio construction, and by knowing your exit strategies. This is another area I feel retail investors go wrong. They either bet too much on a single asset, or they spread themselves thin across, like, I've seen portfolios with like 50 projects in there, which is ridiculous. So we teach a proven system with specific allocations for your crypto portfolio, again, based on CFA principles. And that's all linked to investors' risk profile that we study.
So we've both worked in finance, so I guess I have an idea of this, but how would you say that compares to, say, traditional investing approaches?
Well, it's extremely similar, right? As I'm saying, we both learned from the same principles, myself from CFA principles as well. And that's what we apply to just a different context, a different market. Think about venture capital firms as well. They make calculated bets on early stage companies, and they don't need all of them to win. They need just a few. And it just justifies in terms of returns because some will really overperform. So you can look at it that way as well. What we're doing is we're bringing that professional approach to the crypto markets, and we make it simpler, easier for our members to navigate.
So do you have, would you say, any final thoughts for someone who's maybe seeing crypto as purely speculative?
Okay, I would say this. Look at the history. All transformative technologies go through phases of adoption, and the early phases always appear speculative to outside observers. The internet looked like a speculation, right, in 1995. A smartphone or cloud computing, the same in 2010. In each case, those who understood the technology and its potential were able to identify great investment opportunities. I think that crypto is following the same exact adoption curve. Keep in mind that, yeah, you had the early Google and Amazon, but then you had Facebook in 2004, you had Airbnb in 2010, and to this day, you have internet companies really doing well. So it's going to be the same thing for crypto, in my opinion, for the next decades.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next question. I love this question. What do you think makes the native markets so special compared to, say, Coinbase or Robinhood? So many of our listeners are already familiar with buying crypto on platforms like Coinbase and Robinhood. You keep mentioning these native markets that supposedly offer far better returns. What exactly are they? And why would anyone go beyond the mainstream exchanges that everybody knows?
Well, look, when I first discovered the difference between these markets, I couldn't believe it either. But the distinction is very real, and it fundamentally changes the investment equation because now you have access to a pool of opportunities that we can call early stage. I'll image this, right, to make it more understandable. Imagine there were two completely different stock markets. One where venture capital and only accredited investors, institutions, Wall Street were operating, and there you can invest in companies before they go public. And then you have the other one. It's another market where everyday investors can invest, but they can buy shares only after the IPO, when prices have already risen maybe 1,000%. Well, that's exactly what's happening in crypto. The native markets are where assets trade before they get listed on Coinbase, Robinhood, Kraken, and all other mainstream exchanges. So by the time an asset hits mainstream exchanges, the lion's share of the profit is gone already because it has to grow. It has to have a certain size to be even considered for a listing there.
But why doesn't Coinbase list them immediately?
When you think about it, it makes sense, right? First of all, there are legal reasons like compliance. They need to conduct due diligence before listing new assets, which takes time and resources, right? So they're not going to do that for every token out there. There's like thousands of them. That's why they wait for a certain like crypto to reach a certain point in its life cycle. Second, there's a liquidity threshold. Mainstream exchanges want assets that already have certain liquidity, significant trading volume. They know there's demand because it has to be profitable for them to list it. Third thing, they actually benefit from this two-tier system because it's almost as if they had a bullpen, right? They can watch which assets are gaining traction in native markets. They can sometimes buy them themselves because they know that a listing is going to shoot up the prices initially, right? So they can make even more money doing that. What they also do is that they're going to use these assets and provide liquidity on them in the native markets to generate yields for themselves. So it's a big win for them.
Can you give specific examples, Tan, of how kind of dramatic this difference can be between the two?
Right. So most people here probably know about Solana, right? You hold some Solana?
I do
Probably.
hold Solana.
All right. So it was listed in native markets for 95 cents back in the days, right? Eventually, months later, it got listed by Coinbase for around $45, if I remember well. So that's a 4,500+% return. And that's before mainstream investors can even access it. So if you put $10,000 into Solana on Coinbase when it first listed, I mean, now you would be sitting at what? Around a 3x, right? From 45 to 140, something like that is the price currently. Well, if you put $10,000 in Solana since the Coinbase listing, you have 30K. If you put $10,000 on Solana since the native markets listing, that's over $2.5 million that you would have made, right? So that's the difference. It's the same asset. It's just who's early, who's not.
But surely there must be like risks or complications with these native markets.
Yeah, I mean, they don't operate the same way, right? Coinbase is all like this clean user experience, super easy to navigate. Yeah, sure. But I mean, that's where the information and knowledge becomes power. Because who cares about a clean user experience? What you want is the value, right? What you want is the early opportunity and have a higher upside. So you need to know how to access the native markets, which one of these decentralized exchanges is legit, which one is a scam, right? it has to be safe, and you have to be able to identify which assets have this insane upside potential and which ones are worthless, because there's a lot of crap. So without proper guidance, I would say yes, these markets are riskier, but with the right system, meaning you know how to access them and how to use them, how to secure your assets, and how to identify the right projects, then the native markets offer opportunities that the mainstream exchanges simply can't match.
What I hear often is if these native markets are so advantageous, why isn't everyone using them?
Before you joined our company, did you know they exist?
No.
Right. So first thing is most people don't even know they exist. I mean, that's it, right? The crypto world is new and there's a big knowledge gap. So there's a huge arbitrage. Second, there's just an information barrier. Setting up the accounts on the native markets, understanding how to navigate them, and identify which assets have the highest upside. So all of this requires specialized knowledge that most people don't have. Coming back to my example, it's literally asking, why don't most people invest in companies pre-IPO? The answer is simple. Most people simply don't have access in the TradFi world to these opportunities. But in crypto, unlike the traditional finance world, the only restriction is knowledge. People can access the native markets. There is no rules or regulation that prevents them from it, but they need to have the knowledge.
So this is one I hear really often, right? Crypto sounds really complicated. Is this something I can actually learn?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the crypto vocabulary like gas fee, smart contracts, blockchain sounds very unusual or new to people over 50 especially.
Mm-hmm.
How realistic is it for someone without technical expertise to actually navigate this digital complex landscape?
I get it why people would ask, clearly understandable. When I first got into crypto in 2016, I mean, I thought the same. Initially, I was overwhelmed. Now, back then was very different to today, but still, I mean, I was a professional banker. I had my CFA charter. I mean, I was working towards my CFA charter. Yeah, the complex vocabulary can literally make your head spin sometimes. It's like learning an entire new language, right? At least that's what it seems like. But that technical barrier is precisely why it's such a big financial opportunity, right? Most people don't want to get past it.
So do you think it's realistic for someone without a technical background to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the kind of people we've done it for, right? What we've created a system for. The process is so straightforward that anyone can follow it. I mean, you've probably onboarded some members who are like in their 70s, their 80s. Most of our members are retirees anyway. You know that.
Yeah.
Plus you get access, and that's the key, to a crypto expert every day, right? On the line. Like you can literally text them and ask them any question. So, I mean, the barrier is like out of there, right?
That's impressive, but surely there's like a learning curve.
Yes, like with anything, but it's not as steep as what people think. Look, do you remember when you first started using a smartphone? It was confusing, right? Like initially it wasn't like natural, but now you don't even think. It was the same thing. Well, it's comparable. The key here is having someone who's helping you navigate it. That's why we created detailed step-by-step video tutorials where we literally screen record and show you where to click, what to do. We don't just tell you, we show you. And then, I mean, you can still ask whatever question you have directly to your expert.
I understand that, but what about all the technical jargon? Do you not feel like you still need to understand that?
Honestly, no. Like that's the great myth with crypto, but it's not the case. Like even I don't, to be honest, on most of these things, like complex consensus mechanisms and like smart contracts. I don't get it. That's like, do you understand how your car's engine really works, like in detail? You just drive it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And what about security and keeping everything secure? That seems to be a challenge for a lot of people.
No, yeah, that's critical. And that's another area where you really need the guidance because it makes all the difference. I've heard so many stories about scams and everything. You need to avoid that, right? And we provide a proven security protocol that literally counters, I'm not going to say 100%, but 99% of the attacks out there. We vet every single platform out there, right, to make sure our members are protected. And we help them build that digital fortress that I like to call, helping them set up their wallets, their security systems that even the governments can't access.
Yeah, I think that's very reassuring to hear, but what advice would you have for someone who's on the fence and maybe overwhelmed with all the technical aspects?
Okay. I'd say, remember this, anyone who's successful in crypto today had to start with zero knowledge at some point. I think that the difference between success and failure is not the technical aspect. It's just about having the right guidance. That's it.
Perfect, thank you. I guess now we'll move on to the next question. That's a really powerful insight, Tan. I guess for a lot of our listeners out there are so many crypto scams. So how do they avoid them? Nearly every week we see headlines of crypto scams, of millions lost on a fund. So I guess for new people and also just our listeners, the industry seems like it's filled with fraud. How can anyone possibly invest safely, do you think?
Well, first of all, this fear is completely valid. Right? That's what I would say. So yes, there have been scams and hacks, and it's true. It's simply true. So anyone who tells you the opposite is just dishonest. The good news is that while scams are around, they almost always follow a predictable pattern, which means they can systematically be avoided with the right knowledge. Think about banking scams. We've both worked in banks before. To this day, there's still a lot of people that give up their OTP. Or how many fraud alerts do you get from Bank of America or JP Morgan telling you, hey, do not click on this link, or do not give your OTP or account numbers to someone, right? Yet
So many.
people fall for it. So it's just the same thing. It's a new industry. And with every new industry, you're going to have people who are going to try and rip other people off. That's just how the world is made. And at the end of the day, it strengthens the industry, because when a new scam is out there that we didn't think about, and we end up solving for it, and you just get better. But basically, once you understand the fundamental principles of how to stay safe and secure, you can avoid 99% of the scams out there.
That makes sense, Tan. I guess, how realistic is it for crypto investors to avoid these scams, particularly because, especially now, there's a lot that are quite sophisticated?
Well, I think the issue is that most people try to figure this out on their own, navigating YouTube or Reddit posts. And that's why their security systems are so fragmented. And it leaves huge security gaps. We have a systematic approach, step by step, on how to protect your crypto. I can guarantee you, I take this very seriously. I've set it up. It's been like over 3 years. I never touched it again. And it's the same for all our members. So our process covers everything from wallet setup, transaction verification, asset selection, and ongoing monitoring. It even solves for legacy, like how do I pass on my crypto to my heirs? And our members don't need to become security experts for themselves. They just need to follow the step-by-step process. Literally, that's it.
But even with all of these precautions, isn't there still a significant risk?
There's risk in any investment. Simple, right? Like we said, even having a bank account right now can be risky because people are trying to liquidate your funds. But the biggest risks in crypto, they don't come from the technology itself. They come from human behavior. Panic selling during, when the market is down, FOMO buying at market peaks, chasing some pumps here and there, or listening to their friends and what they recommend. They just treat security the same way. They think it's never going to happen to them until it does. So that's why our approach is holistic. It's not just about security. It's about developing a complete investment discipline. So we help our members not only to avoid scams, but how to identify legit projects with real potential for growth.
Thank you for addressing such an important concern, Tan. I guess now we'll move on to the next question. So one question I think, Tan, that most of us naturally have is, how long until I actually get my return on investment?
Okay, so with the ABN system we've built, we really try to optimize for ease of use, reducing the risk factor as much as possible while maximizing the upside potential. That's what we did by design. So let me walk you through. So first of all, most people like starting small. No one is throwing their entire net worth into crypto right off the bat. So we begin with a controlled test. We build what we call an all-weather portfolio. This is tailored to every member's risk profile. So whether you're conservative or aggressive, you can create the right allocation of assets based on that.
And what kind of assets are we talking about?
So we typically start with stablecoins, assets that are pegged to the US dollar and generate passive yield. That way, your first experience in the system is safe, predictable income. Then as profits start rolling in, we apply the same strategy with blue chip cryptos, the biggest ones, the most famous, that most people plan on holding anyway. We get yield. So getting a cut of the transaction fees. Once you've got confidence and initial results, we show you how to deploy your profits only into higher upside gems in the native markets. That can be risky, and that's why we use profits only. We always tell our members they should never put more than what they're comfortable with. And that's why they're always in control of their money. That's super important. They're just reinvesting the initial profit, so the wins only.
Okay, so that's how you take the risk off the table. So would you say it's more about momentum and compounding?
Exactly. So most members get their first passive income stream set up in less than 7 days.
And what kind of ROI are people actually seeing?
All right. So based on our data, because we looked, most members break even on their membership fee between 60 to 90 days. That's what we see. That's very common. Now, we've also had members, you probably know that, who doubled their portfolios in just 2 months simply by following the system and being consistent. Then I can tell you about many members who've generated more than 8 figures, literally. But these results aren't typical. And so I don't want to, discuss about that too much. Again, being very transparent, some didn't recoup their membership fee yet because life gets in the way and they couldn't follow through with what we teach. And that's very unfortunate. So yeah, you have to be engaged for sure. But again, that's also not typical, less than 5% of people.
I think that's really helpful to hear, especially for people who are looking to invest into the space. I guess, do you have any final thoughts for maybe someone who's unsure or on the fence about whether the results will actually come for them?
Look, whenever I am facing an important decision, I like to break things down from first order principles. So in my opinion, it comes down to really answering only 2 questions. First, do you believe that crypto as an asset class will grow? It has the potential to provide outsized returns when you compare it to stocks, bonds, real estate? That's the first question you need to answer. If you don't, then results won't come, because you need to have an opinion on where the world is headed. Otherwise, you simply won't stay engaged because your actions won't align with your core beliefs. And there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing our team can do about it. Second, if the answer is a yes and you believe in crypto, then the second question is, do you believe it's better to go on your own or with a community of 3,000 plus high profile members implementing a proven system, which is the ABN system? To answer this one, I would say conduct proper due diligence about the company, about the community. Listen to our members deeply, explaining the results and how they did it. Watch our YouTube videos and just gauge the depth of our experience in the space. Talk to our team, someone like you, to first see if you are invited in the mastermind. And if you are, it means that our team members think that you can do it and they have been trained to identify people like that, because we want to maintain our success rate. If they believe in you, now the only thing left is for you to believe in yourself, that you will apply this. You will take it seriously like we do.
Thank you for sharing that, Tan. I guess I can actually relate personally, because when I first started out in crypto, I was a little bit skeptical too. And I think if you don't work on those beliefs to begin with, then you actually take them into the markets and make hesitant decisions. So once you actually believe in it and it makes sense to you, only then can you actually find a strategy or work with a team that can actually help you to get to the next level.
Right. And now that you work with your mentor at Decentralized Masters yourself, how's it going?
Really well, really well. I mean, I invested in crypto in 2021 for the first time, and I lost it all within 6 months because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a strategy. And then when I actually got my mentor and implemented the strategy myself, I saw much better returns. So I know for me personally, I can speak of my own experience, and I speak to members about this as well when we enroll kind of new investors, that you kind of just have to believe in the process, as you said, and also believe in yourself, and the results will come eventually.
All right, cool.
So another really common question I get, Tan, is what if it doesn't work out for me? So for anyone listening, particularly people who are looking to invest for the first time, how would you kind of answer that?
It's clear that some people will doubt themselves, right? Even if you can show them like a million results, like a million case studies and testimonials, they will still doubt, not you as a company, but themselves. And to be fair, I doubted myself when I first started.
Even with your Wall Street background?
Yeah, because I was leaving my, what they call $1 million career, right? That I had worked for, to go into this scam crypto industry. Literally, that's what people thought. So to most people, I was saying, no, I'm 100% sure of what I'm doing, but I wasn't, right? The self-doubt was immense. But once I went for it, my mindset was clear. I am going to make this work. Since then, I have seen this exact system work for 70-year-old retirees, total beginners, truck drivers. I mean, we have very high caliber people, but we also have other type of people who really needed something to work, and it did. The people who succeeded, what I've seen, are not the smartest necessarily. They're the most committed. They follow the system, they ask questions, they stay engaged, and that's it.
So would you say, Tan, it's not about talent, but it's actually about willingness?
Exactly. And no one is telling you that you have to believe that it's going to work for you 1000%. Just take the first step, like with everything in life. That's why we start small. You set up your secure wallet. You start with stable coins. You see the first profits coming in after 7 days. From there, it becomes tangible. It becomes real. And you're not thinking, what if? You're seeing results. And so that leads your actions. You keep going.
But there's still that fear of potentially making the wrong move, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's normal. The best investors, entrepreneurs, decision makers, they all have one thing in common. That's what I've seen. They don't wait for perfect information. They know a good opportunity will not feel safe. In fact, a good opportunity should feel scary. If it doesn't, it's probably not that good.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And I think that when it feels most scary, that's actually when you should jump, because that's where most growth happens.
I don't know about the jumping part, but I've learned a rule from Colin Powell. Okay, he calls it the 40-70 rule. Make a decision when you have between 40% and 70% of the information. That's it. Because if you wait past 70%, the opportunity is already gone. That's how the greats operate. They take action based on conviction, gut feeling, and pattern recognition, not perfect clarity, because it doesn't exist.
So what's the right mindset, Tan, do you think, for someone who's still thinking, what if this doesn't work for me?
I would just say, ask yourself a different question. What if it does work? Yeah. I mean, what if it does? What if this is the one thing that finally gives you control over your financial future? What if the fear you're feeling is not a red flag? It's a sign that you're standing at the edge of something meaningful. That's what I would say, because gut feeling can be very powerful. Look, doubt is normal. What matters is what you do with it. It's your identity. You can spend months gathering more information about crypto, about DeFi, about Decentralized Masters, about me, about you, about everyone, right? There is no magical moment when it's just going to click and tell you, okay, now you can go ahead. You're never going to be 100% ready. And it applies not only for this, it applies for everything. The people who win, what I've seen, they feel the fear and they move anyway. Action taking always ends well. That's what I've seen.
I would actually agree with you, Tan, because even people I speak to, often, they come up with a lot of doubt and uncertainty, and they feel like getting more information or asking a friend or doing more reading online is going to give them the comfort and an answer. But I don't think that growth actually exists in a vacuum without discomfort. You just have to act despite it. And actually getting more information might seem like a good idea, but actually can paralyze you even more and then stop you from making a decision at all. So I completely agree with you that you've just got to take action despite that discomfort and actually embrace it when doing so.
And as a matter of fact, those who succeed in the program as members are those who took action right away because they knew this is the thing. And so eventually they just keep repeating, that mindset. They just have it. And typically what you see is business owners, big real estate investors, these high profile guys, that's what they do. They're decisive.